Recording in progress.
Well, welcome, Joe. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Look at me. I'm in the beach.
Look at me. I'm in the park.
We need to do whatever we need to be in that Zen mode, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful that you were able to take some time from your day to join us on the podcast today. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's so crazy because we've known each other for so long now, and our childhoods, they're kind of parallel, and we've all been dealing with some craziness as adults with our health, with
Mm,
trying to get back on track emotionally and just everything all around, right?
mm,
And so I invited you because you know firsthand how it is to deal with a I guess we can say narcissistic or an emotionally immature parent.
mm. Absolutely. 100%.
So I would like you to just lead us with, how is it to have grown up in that environment with your mom?
It was weird because for the longest time I thought it was me. So I took preemptive steps. Think I'm really loud. Preemptive steps, thinking that it was me and not it was more internal than external.
Right.
So in college I double majored in psychology as well
Wow.
because I thought it was me. So I was like, let's see what's wrong with me, and then I'll try to figure it out internally.
Wow.
And as I continued with psychology, I became really good friends with a psychoanalyst that was a professor at my school,
Okay.
and we would talk on and off. And I realized that, like, wait, it wasn't me.
Wow.
So, yeah, for the longest, I thought, you know, the the everything that was happening and everything that was occurring was was me over what's the word over interpreting, I guess, what was going on.
Okay.
So I thought that every reaction was due to my action.
Got you. Got you. And when you found out that it wasn't you at all, did that give you some kind of relief or
Um, Sort of, because it made me look back to pretty much, so like what I did was I self-analyzed myself from my first memory.
okay.
So I just literally took a notebook and I just wrote everything that I remember.
Wow.
I used that as pretty much trying to figure out exactly when everything started. Like
Okay.
for me.
Okay. Did you notice that it had a negative effect on your physical, your overall health? We know the health part, but on the physical as well.
As an adult, absolutely. Like looking back at my childhood, 100%.
Right, 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 right. The stress, the
The stress, the anxiety, the like it affected my self-esteem at one point
wow, wow. Did you? Oh,
because
uh-huh. Sorry,
no,
continue.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead, go
No, I
ahead.
was just gonna, no, no, no. I want you to continue with that and then I'll ask, I'll
No,
remember.
no, 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 go ahead. I completely forgot
I
what I
was
was saying.
gonna say, did you do anything to like to give validation from other people? Did that like throw you like into becoming an alcoholic or doing anything reckless or out of the norm to kind of fill a
That
void?
was funny though, because I've never done anything reckless and I'm allergic to alcohol, so like I don't drink at all.
Mhm.
I like I would do things. I mean, reckless. Yeah, everything I did as a kid was reckless.
Okay.
But like, oh yeah, my philosophy was like, I am who I am, and I can do whatever the hell I want. But that like Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could, yeah, yeah. Now looking back, absolutely, I did things, and like it never got into like dependency or anything.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I would just do like stupid things to entertain myself, and it turns out how it wasn't very legal. But we'll
Mm.
edit that.
That's too funny. Did that at all affect your relationships with other people?
No,
Or
I, see, that was the thing that like it. I thought it affected as an adult. Looking back, it definitely affected the relationship with my mom.
okay.
But like, I mean, with other people with me. So I mean,
Romantically, were you, because sometimes
um,
people are like avoidant in relationships or codependent.
um, my wow, looking back, absolutely, my first relationship, my first serious relationship was yeah, it was very codependent.
Okay.
Um, my first relationship, my first real relationship was a very long relationship. It was
Okay. 11 years, you said. Mhm.
yeah, and like noticing patterns now, like she definitely went through something
Okay.
because like we pretty much codepended on each other. We were both kids, but we looked at each other like two adults that we needed to get through life together. Was realistic at all.
Right. Right. Wow. How do you feel? Sorry, my phone is buzzing. How do you feel that that affected you in your health, like as far as like, blood pressure, anxiety, depression? Like, do you feel that any of that caused any of those things for you?
Absolutely, because one of the things that I noticed that there was a cycle. So the cycle started. I um I I depended on her. She depended on me. Right. The minute that something was out of whack, it was almost to the point that if things weren't how can I put this? If things weren't done in a specific order, for things there would be like anxiety. So we were so dependent on each other that if things were out of the norm or where she couldn't do stuff by herself, or I had to do something big by myself, anxiety would kick in.
Okay. Wow. That's hard. And did you think you stayed in that longer than you needed to?
No, no. Like we ended, to be completely honest, we ended because we got bored of each other. I mean, there's only so much that you can do in 10 years
Right.
that, and like I said, we dated from the time I was 19 to when I was 30. So like we literally grew up together. And once we became quote unquote adults, I don't know if it was like, okay, we don't need each other anymore, or if I mean, we're still very, very good friends.
That's good.
But what you call it, I don't know if it was like the relationship right course or yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things that it just literally and
Now, what I wanted to ask was, as a child, were you, how can I say? Because I want to go back to like, did you feel responsible for your parents' emotional well-being, or like, because I know you felt like things were your fault, but I mean, did you also feel like if they were upset or they were going through something, you were like their counselor and you had to talk them through it, or you had to like, did you have
no,
to be
no.
okay?
My parents were very what's the word? They didn't share their concerns with me. Like I was just there.
Okay. Did you feel there was anything missing that you would have wanted that you didn't get?
Um, I mean, emotionally more support, but more. I mean, that was pretty much it. Like, I mean, physical, they were there, but emotionally, they weren't.
Which I think is what we find a lot in these types of situations where they provide roof over your head. They make sure you got what you need, but you don't
Mm.
the emotion. And I wonder if,
I
uh,
mean, I chalk that up to the immigrant mentality
right,
because my parents are immigrants and they came to this country to find a better life, not knowing the language.
right,
And their concern, like you said, was to keep a roof over their head,
right,
and everything else was secondary,
right.
including emotion. So at a very young age, I learned that like emotions can be used against me, so don't use emotion. So
Got
I I and not that I turned that into a personality trait, but I'm very good at turning that on and
wow. So do you find that being emotional is uncomfortable for you?
off. No,
Vulnerable?
for yeah, that's the since how can I put this? Since I wasn't used to expressing my emotions at a young age because I thought that nobody cared, I learned to suppress those emotions and use it for my benefit.
Wow. So how did you use them to your benefit?
I learned that if and this is really screwed up for someone that's really young to understand, but I started seeing symptoms within myself that I was like, all right, this person has those same symptoms, so he's probably going through the same thing. So automatically, I attracted myself to that person.
Okay.
And later on in life, in I worked in politics for a lot of years.
Okay.
So not having any emotion actually helped me move up in certain.
I mean, that makes sense. They
Yeah.
say a lot of politicians are ruthless. They're
Yeah, absolutely.
they're cold.
Like I had to learn to pretty much like I had to learn that I couldn't be cold all the time. Because if it was up to me, I would be like I am right now, myself in a park with a book.
Right, right. So I noticed I developed autoimmune issues because
Mm-hmm.
of the stress and the constant
Mm-hmm.
flight or fight mode
Mm-hmm.
growing up. Did you develop any kind of autoimmune or any kind of issues with your health being,
Well, well, my blood pressure has always been high. I have for as long as I can remember, I've always had some type of anxiety.
okay,
And I mean, through the years, like I've learned how to manage my anxiety.
right.
But um, but yeah, no. As a kid, I always had high blood pressure. And now as an adult, I relate that to just being on edge all the time, being
Anxious.
anxious.
And what was I gonna say? Did you ever battle with like weight or like anything like
I
that?
mean, I was always a big kid, but I was always a tall kid. Like I was 6 feet when I was 12.
Got you.
So, so even though I was big, I didn't look big because of
Your
my height. But yeah, I was always bigger than others. And then looking back, also, I guess that being that I didn't drink or do anything, I used food as a coping mechanism.
That was what the next question was that I was gonna have for you. Did you use that as a crutch? Like that, an emotional eater. Most of us,
Mm.
that's what we do. For me, it was candy and junk food.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. For me, it was like pretty much anything that was in front. You know, I was never a picky eater, and I guess that was the reason why. Because like anything that was in front of me was in front, I guess.
gotcha. I hear the people in the background. It's such a beautiful day, of course.
Yeah, the family walk right in front of me.
No, that's fine. How's your battery? Because I know that you were.
Yeah, I have no idea. 57%. We're good.
Oh, we're still good. Awesome. Um, so damn, it's hard because you said you did 2 degrees?
Hmm.
Did you always feel like nothing you did was ever enough?
Not that it wasn't enough. It was that it wasn't good enough. Like I would compare myself to, like I would give myself the most ridiculous goals, thinking that if I do this, I'm either gonna impress someone or, my parents will look at me differently.
People please.
But yeah, oh no, absolutely. It was 100% people pleasing. And as the years went on, I realized that, like, who cares?
Right, right. That's the thing. It's hard, right? Because growing up like that, you feel that you have to jump through extra hoops just to get someone to say, "Oh, that's awesome. Great job."
Absolutely.
You just kind of want to hear, "Well done."
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Proud of you. I love you. That's an amazing job. And like to constantly have to figure it out. Like, is that enough? Was that good?
Mm.
Okay. It's like, it's a challenge. But like you said, the immigrant mentality, I think, is part of it, that they just had what they had to do.
I mean, it definitely is because, I see it this way that, and this was my mentality when I was, let's say, I don't know, in high school. So, my mentality was that, okay, my parents came here from another country, not knowing the language, right? They had me, right? So by having me, I have to do better than them.
Right,
So now I am giving myself a goal, right? So my goal is to be better than my parents.
right,
But as I got older, I started adding to those goals,
right,
right? So here's an example. I studied political science in college. And I thought by doing certain things with my degree, I would impress and it wasn't even my dad. I was trying more to impress my mom more than anything. So, I made sure that everything I did was to a level that she's like, holy crap, that's my son.
right.
Right. So, I made sure that when I spoke at the UN, she was there watching me speak at the UN.
Wow.
And and then certain things, like, throughout life, that I put out expecting a different reaction, but not getting the reaction that I expected. And that kind of started a cycle that I wanted to speak to you about on the book that I sent you.
Okay.
So the book talks about
Share the title for everybody.
I have no idea what the name of the title is, to be honest. I think it's
Just
called The
children of,
Children of Immature Parents, something like
right.
that.
Okay. If anything, I
Um,
can put it at the bottom afterwards. Okay.
but the book talks about dealing with emotionally immature parents. And the book says that dealing with someone that is emotionally immature will lead to anxiety and low self-esteem. And that pretty much created a cycle in for me when I was a kid, because it would just, progress and progress and get worse and worse.
Right.
And I would constantly think that the only way that I would get out of that cycle is to validate or get validation for my feelings that I never.
And you never receive them.
I mean, I probably did, but not in the way that I want. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. It was kind of like a
Yeah, exactly.
right, but not enough because you always would chase probably the next thing to make sure
Yeah.
that she would say, "Oh wow, look at my son, how amazing." Did you
Mhm.
do you still sometimes go because I know right now you're back home and you're
Mhm.
helping caretake her, you're a caretaker
Mhm.
and all that. And so did that bring back a lot of that for you? from your
Um,
youth? Like, how has that been for you? I mean, if you wish to
um,
share a bit, if you don't want to, it's also okay.
I mean, I like when I came back, I did the military helicopter. I'm sorry. When I came back, I came back with a different mindset. So when I left my parents' house, I was younger than I am. So coming back, I came back with a different mindset, more into self and more into with the elderly uh, mom,
Right,
not the mom that I had when I was 10, because she's the same person she was
right.
when I was 10. So I came back with a more open mind of um it's her, not me.
Right.
So I obviously see things differently now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but one thing is coming back as an adult and dealing with everything that I dealt with as a child, as an adult, has given me more insight, not only to myself, but to everything that's going on around me.
Right. Right.
Because at the end of the day, I had to learn that the way that she is towards me is not caused by me,
Right.
but caused by a completely outside interference. Something that may have happened 60, 70, 80 years ago
Right.
that was never addressed or was never treated.
Right. Right. Right.
So like I I I came back knowing how to navigate certain things that I had no idea or I didn't have the tools to navigate when I was young.
Got you. Two things. One, did you do you find it um that you moved far away? Because I know you were down in Florida, right?
Mhm.
Did you feel like you needed to move to kind of get away, so to speak, from them, or was that just something that you did on a
No, no,
whim?
no. I always wanted to spend some time in Miami.
Okay.
I originally, when I graduated high school, I wanted to go to school in Miami, but I missed the housing deadline by 2 days, so I couldn't get housing. So I just
Wow.
decided to start college up here.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the only reason that
I
I didn't
wanted to
go
go to
down to.
school in Miami too, but I wanted to leave far, far away from everybody. That was me. That was my little escape plan.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
no, no. Yeah, I missed the housing deadline to Florida International University by 2 days, I think. And by the time that I got the letter, I it was already too late, and I couldn't get housing. So I was forced to apply for college here.
got you. What advice would you give anybody that is younger dealing with parents, or even older, any age, actually, anybody dealing with at least a parent?
I mean, there's there's only so much that you can do that um like the first thing is that you have to identify emotional
Emotional what?
right? Emotional loneliness.
Okay.
You have to you have to understand that feeling that you feel alone, or you don't feel connected to your parents. That's not your fault. That is um something that they went through caused that. And for a long time I thought that I was for a long time I thought that I was the only person feeling. And I'm pretty sure that my mom feels the same way, 100%. Um, I One thing that I lacked, that it took me a while to figure out, is emotional intimacy. for a long time because as a kid I had no one to speak to. I wasn't comfortable um sharing my feelings.
Okay.
I never I never I never said sorry. I never said what I felt. And once I mean I still don't tell people what I feel. I just have a journal that I write everything that I feel in. And that's something that helped me a lot too.
Journaling.
Journaling, just writing your emotion. That's exactly what I have in my in my notebook. Like one of the things one of the things that I have is like our brains are hardwired to seek safety and familiarity. That is why kids who grow up with emotionally unavailable parents often end up in bad relationships with people who are similarly hurtful. They are unable to identify red flags because they don't understand that they are being hurt.
Wow. Wow.
Right. So that's one of the things that the book touches on.
Okay.
And after reading this book, we should talk again because I think that a lot of the things that you're touching in this series
Mhm.
is that book. 100.
Absolutely. I agree. Like, so because you did mention the red flags, I wanted to ask, did you date people that had the red flags going off left and right, but you kind
Every single one of them.
all right,
Every
so
single one
talk
of them.
to us because this is an issue for many of
Like
us.
like I saw I saw I mean I guess I saw the red flags after the fact.
Okay.
You know, they weren't visible while I was in the
Yeah.
mix, I guess.
Okay. Rose
And
tinted
I
glasses.
I mean and I found myself attached to a person for a long reason. I guess I was looking for that what's the word? I was looking for that acceptance, that validation, I guess.
I was just gonna say the validation. Yeah.
So I mean, as long as I mean, now looking back, even with and these are my relationships as a teenager. I mean, as long as the validation was there, I would stay.
Right.
And once the validation went away, it was like, all right, I guess I have to find validation from.
Somewhere else. Wow. Because sometimes people think that we then become the problem because we're seeking from everywhere else instead of from ourselves, from within ourselves, right? Because they say we have to heal and do the work so that not we're not constantly chasing and looking for that in someone else. You know, we have to kind of love ourselves, so to speak, and give ourselves everything we would have wanted from our parents.
I
And
mean, I mean, now that you say that, like, I mean, there's that other side of it that if you grow up with parents that are not emotionally there for you, um, the older you get, that emptiness stays,
right,
and you could have everything in the world, and you're still gonna be empty,
right, right,
and you constantly try to fill that void with validation or with whatever, with alcohol, with drugs, or
right,
whatever, with
right,
food,
right.
with
Sexual
whatever.
addictions, everything,
Exactly.
everything.
And people stay within those relationships because it's what they know. It's comforting. It's familiar.
Right, right, right. And to your point, I think in my experience, I stayed longer than I needed to in a situation because of the codependency or the
Yeah.
companionship, or like you said, that you're comfortable with that person and it's comfortable. And why change something that is just
Exactly.
comfortable? Like don't rock the boat if you
Hmm.
don't have to. But I think it comes a point when we wake up one day and we realize this can't be my life. This is not what I want, and then you kind of have to really like do some introspection, like really look
Yeah.
and say, is this for me? Is this what all I why did I get into this relationship and why am I still stuck here and all these different things.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are you a what's the what are you confrontational?
I don't like that. No, I usually shy away from it.
See, because the reason I ask you that is that every person that I have spoken to that comes from a similar background are
Mhm.
non-confrontational. I'm very non-confrontational.
Wow.
I'm only confrontational once my little 3 foot bubble is broken.
Right. Right.
Once you invade my little 3 foot
Mhm.
area around me, that's when I get
Right.
confrontation.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, no, that's a lot of people that I've spoken to are very non-confrontational, are very anxious,
Yes.
and at one point had low self-esteem.
Huh. I think that's most of us, you know.
And it's funny though because that's how the human mind reacts to that, to aggression, to to that challenge.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think because we didn't like the fighting, we didn't like the yelling, that's all we were used to, that we want peace when
Mhm.
we're looking for that zen. That's why you're in that quiet park. That's why my background looks like an ocean. I'd rather be at the ocean, or be in the mountaintop at peace. I don't want
Yeah,
to fight with anybody. I don't want to argue. I just kind of want to enjoy my life peacefully. I think too, our nervous system is shot from
yeah.
constantly being on edge.
Mhm.
Flight or fight is what they say all the time when you look into it all. And there's medical professionals now saying and concluding that because of constantly being on edge as children, we have developed a lot of autoimmune or health issues as adults. You know,
I mean,
uh,
one of the benefits
one of the
I one of the benefits that I discovered as an adult, that as a kid I was very anxious. I worried, and I still do to a point. I worry about things that have zero control over. And I guess because of being young and having anxiety so young, my brain formed in a way that super aware of everything else.
hyper
And
awareness. Mm-hmm.
at any given at any given point, I could at any given point, I'm constantly aware of everything around. So it's really hard for me to relax because I'm constantly, my head is constantly on a swivel.
Yeah.
So, so
Vigilant.
that's one of the reasons that I constantly like to sit in secluded places, and because I have no distractions and nothing going
Right. No, I get that. You still there? I can hear you. I don't know. I got quiet. Or you
Yeah, can
just,
you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I know what works for me is to just kind of take a mini trip too. I take a little getaway. I take my backpack, throw it in the car, and I go up the mountain
Mm.
or I go down the shore, go anywhere. And like for you, writing is good for me too. I enjoy writing
Yeah,
or
I write. Um I also I also got into photography. I found photography to be very relaxing, very zen.
nice. I like that. Do you meditate at all?
Uh, um, I used to meditate often, but the busier I got, the less time I have to like right now is one of the few things that I actually have to myself.
Okay.
So if it's not work, I'm always constantly doing something. And my form of meditation, I,
Your
I
form
usually try.
of
My
meditation,
form of meditation is photography.
photography.
I I try to I try to take like at least once or twice a week for a couple of hours just to clear my mind.
What do you take pictures of? What do you like?
Mostly nature, mostly landscape nature. I don't like taking pictures of people.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
mostly landscape nature, buildings.
Nice. So I am grateful for your time. And I know we said we're going to probably do another one after we finish reading
Mhm.
this book. So we'll keep some of that information for next time. Is there anything you want to impart on anyone out there?
Um, what can I say? Um, yeah, be you. That's it. It's
Do you?
just it's good. There. I for a long time I was so concerned with pleasing people that I lost track of who I was,
Mm.
and I became a person that I didn't want to become. And it took me a long time to find myself again. And so doing that. So yeah, you gotta be you. You gotta you gotta sometimes give the middle finger to the world and dance to your own beat.
I agree with that. And that's what a lot of us have been working on and working towards being whoever we're meant to be, aside from everything else we've experienced and what have you. Um, so I love that. That's got to be the best advice. Joe, thank you so much for joining us
Yes,
and
ma'am. Thank you for having me.
welcome. And hopefully, we'll have you on again soon in the near future.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime you need me.
Thank you.